Count down nicely. He always goes 5, 3, 1.
Bottom line is he was rich and he was young. And he was a ruler, he was an influential person in the society.
Welcome to Energ-Aid, a program for young people just like you and I.
As growing up as a refugee and being able to go to school and being a doctor, you know, it was...
Wow.
Yes, because how do you learn more about him if you don't doubt?
You don't doubt. Wow.
By the way, you can't even trust God if you don't doubt. Do you know that?
Welcome to Energ-Aid. I am your host, Adela and In the studio today, I have Mrs. Thangalimodzi, and we'll be talking about suicide. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, as of 2015, according to the World Health Organization, Malawi had a rate of almost 1,000 suicide rankings just in Malawi. That was in 2015, and I'm sure by, as the years have passed, you've seen a lot more in the news. Someone hung themselves, and these are all young people. So we just want to begin by understanding what suicide is. Suicide basically is just taking your own life away, ending your own life. What are some of the causes of suicide?
Well, there are so many causes of suicide, but mainly it's linked to mental health. It's linked to how one interprets the situation again, and how one looks at the meaning of life. So suicide, ending life, will most likely to happen if one is attaching the meaning of life to something that is worthless. You don't find your, not just the purpose, but it's something deeper to say, maybe the significance of it, to say, what is the meaning of life? All of us at some point have asked, what is the meaning of life? Maybe through the stages that we're going through. But with a suicide person, with a suicidal mind, the person maybe thinks beyond that and then looks at life itself, looks at his or her own life and feels like, there's nobody who can help me. It's all useless. It's all worthless. There's no point of trying. And just give up. I'm going to end my life, maybe to have peace or whatever meaning they have attached to suicide.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you've talked about that it's, it's something deeper. It's not just saying, well, let me just see how far this goes. It's not just a game that people play. And unfortunately in Africa, especially here in Malawi, when someone is suicidal or someone even just ends their own life and you read it in the news, some of the responses that you get are, that person is crazy, good for them, all these nasty things. How should we be responding actually?
I think the first reaction that we can get is we cannot really blame the people for ignorance, because one thing that I know for sure is that there's a lot of ignorance to mental health issues and ignorance to what suicide is. Most of us think that people who commit suicides are selfish people. They didn't think about anybody else. I remember when I was young, the very first death about suicide that I encountered is that I went home visiting my mom, and I never forget it. So I found a very big tree that was chopped off, that was chopped down, and it was bent. So I was like, it has always pained me to see people just cutting trees mercilessly. This time I was really young. So I was asking my mother, saying, how come a big tree like this, people just cut it down and then they're burning it? So my mother's response was like, well, you know what, there was a stupid man, but she was saying it in my vernacular language of Tumbuka, said a stupid man decided to commit suicide, he killed himself. And she said a lot of things, which to me I was like, okay. And that was the first meaning I had to say people who commit suicide are very stupid, are very selfish, are very, so many names that she attached to that man who did. And he was also young. Days later, she showed me his wife when she was passing by. She came home and said, that's the wife, the man I was talking to you, the tree, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. But I didn't have any meaning at then. So as you're saying, the main thing that we have is the scale of ignorance on mental health. Because if we would be more aware on what is happening on mental health, maybe would have a few people who can empathize, a few people who can maybe try to understand a little bit with our own mind what is going on in there. So some people would say, for me personally, I would say there's large ignorance. Indeed, when you really read in the news, even on social media, somebody commits suicide, people, without even, how can I say, without being sensitive, they even put the photo of somebody hanged, and they're just showing, spreading, oh, this man is stupid, he did this, and you read the comments, then it's just like, sometimes I don't even finish reading the comments, I'm just like, okay, I can't deal with this anymore, because we just talk, So taking on life, I think we should be asking ourselves, what did the person went through for him or her to reach that stage to say, I'm just ending it? Maybe that is the question we need to try to understand more, other than just saying they're selfish, they're this, they're that. It's quite deeper than what we think. Yeah.
And you mentioned, we're just going to go back a bit, just generally about suicide. I think we maybe need to go a bit deeper on, you know, just the act of suicide. You know, what's the motive behind? I don't know if that's the right wording, but you know, when we're talking about suicide, what are we actually talking about?
It's about ending it all. The motive, though we don't know the motive, for me, I can speculate two motives that I'm still trying to find out as a psychotherapist. One is just to end it all. I've suffered enough. I can't deal with this anymore. Enough is enough. Let me rest. That is one speculation, and that we can all take to say, okay, they want to end it all, I want to have peace, this and that. And there's this other ideology that is coming in now, which to me I would brand it is not all that Christian, where people believe that they are going to have a different life when they die. What does that mean? It means, okay, there's a better life. I was reading in the newspapers, is it Mail Online, UK, Mail Online, Daily Mail Online. They were talking about two young, a girl and a boy, boyfriend and girlfriend, about 16 or 17. The girl, I think, she's about 17, the boy about 15 or 16, committed suicide. They jumped on the balcony. The belief is that they're going out together, to die together, and they will live happily as souls, whatever it is where they are going. So, for me, I feel like there's a stem of Christian belief, or I should say the theology of death itself. That's how I feel like people thinking that, oh, when you die, actually we'll bury you, but actually you are not dead. It's like there's an underworld there where the dead are living, they are happy, they are enjoying. So like them, it's like, okay, let's die together, we're going to live happy together. So that much, I want to look into it as a person and study more about it to say, what do those beliefs do to us? But the main one we can talk today is just ending it all.
Yeah.
I just want to end everything. I don't want to feel anything. I've been rebuked enough, I've been despised enough, I've been rejected enough, I've had enough pain, I've had this, nobody cares. Even Jesus doesn't care. Let me just end everything. So the worthlessness in it, all that comes together. Yeah.
And what can we do when maybe a friend or someone we know is feeling suicidal? How best can we help them? Because I feel like when someone is at that point, nothing you can really say can really change their mind. So how best can we help a friend or just someone generally that we know who may be suicidal?
Okay, I think you need to remind the other part of the question, which about, if I forget to answer it, you talked about if someone has to, how can we say if they, sorry,
if they're suicidal.
If they're suicidal. What we can do is to be more, to empathize, not just sympathize. Listen more. We need to listen more. And we need to empathize. To empathize is to be like, the simplest way that people ask is to be in somebody's shoes, all right? To see how they are viewing the world from that angle. If they're feeling worthless, it doesn't mean you too have to feel worthless, but it's to explore what is it that is making them feel worthless. It's not about, why do you want to kill yourself? You are so selfish. You are this and that. Your sentiments could be true, but they are not rightly placed at that particular time, because you're just adding salt to the injury. But you need to empathize. I understand this must be very, very difficult for you. But you remember there was a time you've been going on through this for the past 2 years. How did the first year go? How come you didn't do it in the first year? Oh, you know what, I could look at my children, I did this, I did that. Oh, so your children stopped you from committing suicide. Yeah, what about now? Has anything changed about your children? You know, I know my children suffer. Okay, let's think about children a bit. You're empathizing. You're trying to help this person see the other side. Oh, it's about a young person, a career, or other things. You are trying to empathize. You're trying to be with the person in the situation. I understand. I would be very, very frustrated not to go to College of Medicine. I'll be very frustrated not to go to Australia, not to go this. Your parents have been really unfair. But hang on. How old are you? Or you say you're just 23 or you're just 22. Do you know that there are people who went to Australia when they were 45, even they were 50? You're talking with the person, giving them a hope that, okay, there's still more time, I can do some things in this time framework. So empathizing and listening more. Do not judge. You know, what is worse is when we want to judge, to say, you are just so selfish, you don't appreciate the things that you have. We wish other children were like you, or we wish you could see how people are suffering, how, but she is the one suffering now. It doesn't mean that she doesn't know that other people are suffering, but she's the one suffering now in whatever she's going through. So deal with her situation at that particular time. Not, oh, you're selfish, full of yourself, you only think about you, don't think about us, you do this. All those things that come in, that is a judgmental attitude. But if that is the case, I can help to say, oh, this is what has been happening. You know what, today I was about to go to hospital to see somebody. Is it possible that I go with you? Without you saying anything. Maybe the person will go and see the other person in hospital on oxygen or other way, will be like, we call it exposure. Okay, in therapy we call them, even we call them exposure therapy. We call them expose people to certain things that maybe they can help them. All right, can we go, help me? I just want to go to prison to visit, blah, 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 blah. Maybe in the moment of going there, we'll see other people, how they're living. Be like, oh no, I thought I had problems. But
there
are problems there. God forgive me. I will try to do my best, this and that. You can stop suicide by that. Other than saying, why don't you think about this? Why don't you do this? Listen, empathize, even sympathize, and be with the person more. Observe the person. And the other side I wanted to answer is, in your way of talking to your friend, you should also be doing assessment. How serious is the person saying this? You can even ask, oh, so you've been thinking about this for the past 2 weeks, yeah. Did you try anything, or have you tried anything to do? Oh yeah, I did it. You know, I did it. I had I took a razor blade. I wanted to just to cut my windpipe to do. You are assessing that. Maybe you might find that there's indeed a scar. What stopped you? Oh, when I was about to do it, I heard a door. So deep down, the cares about the other person. So if it was in therapy, we go even further than that. How we assess and how we look into that. But because not all of us are like counselors, we can just try to be there for the person and be with the person in that moment instead of judging. Yeah.
Okay. We'll be right back after the song.
Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home when Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is He. His eye is on the sparrow. sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He won't cease over me. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He won't chase me. Let not your heart be troubled. He's seen no words are here, then trusting all His goodness, I lose all doubt and fear by the way that He leadeth. Just one step that I may take. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He won't cease me. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He won't chase me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He won't cease over me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He won't cease me.
Welcome back. Before the song, we were talking about suicide, and we were just trying to understand what leads a person to suicide. Now, we want to look at the victim, I would say, the one who actually commits suicide. What are some of the self-help measures they can take if maybe they are struggling with suicidal thoughts, or they're just generally feeling suicidal?
I think the first thing is to look at how you have coped to that extent. Or I should say, if possible, apart from the self-help, let me emphasize before I forget, it's to seek help. If the suicidal ideations are getting stronger and stronger, it is good to seek help, to say, you know what, this is what I'm thinking. It's good to seek for professional help. Not just anybody. Some people maybe they may contribute to us committing suicide, but it's to look at that and be able to seek help, reach out to other people to say, you know what, help me, I'm dying. This is what is happening with me, and it's strong. Maybe it's because they have been ill, because of whatever situation they've been going through. They don't see any hope, they don't see any future. However, they can also try to look into how did they manage to go through some difficult situations. I believe every person has a story. Not all of us have gone through a smooth way in upbringing. But look at yourself. If there was a challenge that you once went through the challenge and excelled, is to look back. How did I manage that? Oh, it's because I did 1, 2, 3. And try to say, with time, or it's going to happen, with hope. And if I'll come to the Christian perspective, I would say, sometimes praying, not underestimating the power of prayer, by the way, sometimes just praying does not help. But what makes it a difference is the hope people have in Jesus Christ. To say, yes, I'm suffering, yes, I'm going through this, but God knows what I'm going through. That hope, if you have that hope, it helps. Also look at the things that even in those darkest moments where you don't see anything light, try to see what is it that makes you a little bit smile. Maybe just a smallest smile. What is it that makes you smile? That should be the one that you can hold on to. Because if you cannot have anything, then it won't work. I don't know if with time I can tell you 2 stories that I read so far that they have really helped me to say, okay, we can look at life in a different way. I was watching another story that a lady, a widow was somewhere. She went for counseling, and then she was saying how life was hard, this and that. She was rich and everything, but she lost her husband and things were not going on well. She thought of, you know, things are not okay. And then the therapist decided to do a different way, called another lady who was cleaning, said, oh, can you help this lady? So the other lady said, oh, I went through my life, through this, and I explained her difficulties, what she went through. But she said she was all alone, and she couldn't smile. She was locking herself in the home. But she said one day as she was walking, a cat followed her. And she tried to push the cat away, but the cat followed her. In the end, she gave in, opened the door for the cat. And one day she noticed that the cat came, sat on her lap, jumped on her lap, and the cat was just looking at her. She started stroking the cat. And in that moment, she started, you know, feeling like, oh, I've got affection that I can give. But it was all channeled through the cat. What I'm trying to say, even in the darkest moments, there must be something, somebody, a tiny thing that has made a difference into your life. That is something to hold on to say, okay, I'm going to focus on this. And another story, I like it so much because it's my husband who told me this story. I think I was going through some things, but not suicidal anyway. So he said a man fell, I'll just cut it short, a man fell into a sewer. We all know a sewer is. So there's nothing good in a sewer. It's bad, it's a sewer. So he tried to scream for help, but people were not hearing him. It wasn't too deep where the part where he was, but he couldn't get out. So in the moment as the sun was going down, he noticed that on the other corner of the sewer there was a flower, yellow and blossoming, nice, beautiful. So he said that man, you know, hold the wall of the sewer, the fence or whatever, tried to crawl towards the flower. And he started talking to the flower to say, how come did you blossom in a sewer like this? There's nothing good, but you look happy. You look like you're content, you're bright, you're beautiful. What is it that is in the sewer? It's just metaphorical to say even in the darkest moment of the sewer, there must be something tiny that somebody can hold into. And that glimpse helps people to move on. It may not look significant when your mind is cluttered with all that things, but it's good to focus on the positive side. Because when in the mind of someone who is suicidal, everything is bad. Your wife is bad. God is even bad. Christ doesn't exist. It's not even worth it. Your children, everything is just about me. Let me end it. I can't do it. And surely there must be a day where your child came to you and smiled. Hey, Daddy. If it is about grades, there must be a time when you got good grades. The teacher said, wow, these are really good grades. Work hard. Continue doing that. Hold on to small positive things. That matters a lot.
And if there is any last thing that you would really like to share on suicide directly to the viewer, what would that be?
Seek help. Talk to somebody. I won't say don't entertain those thoughts. They are real. Where you feel like, no, I can't do it anymore. You feel worthless. But it's to look at what is my purpose. Even if you don't feel like you have a purpose, but maybe your purpose is to warn others about suicide, to say, I've been there. It's the darkest place I've been. I wouldn't want you to go through that channel. Remember, previous programs we talked about productive anger. Maybe it's to look into that, to say, how can I help people to be themselves again, to find a purpose, to find their significance, and to look at themselves as people and move forward. So seek help. Find people who can help. Confide in somebody. If people are judging you, it's okay. Some people will never understand that. But don't end life. God has a purpose for every life. God has a purpose for every single person in the world. I would love to say nothing is accidental in a person's life, apart from suicide maybe. But nothing is accidental. Our lives are not automated to say, okay, it's an automatic, this is how it has to go. God has a purpose and he drives everything in our life. And those things, when they engulf our minds, it's good maybe to have that hope, even if it doesn't look like God cares, to have hope in Christ. Seek help. Do things that may be extraordinary. Maybe you stopped singing, you stopped chatting with friends. Just try to say, how can I do today? Okay, let me maybe just watch comedy. Let me do. I know it's not as easy as I'm talking, but seek help and you're going to be fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was Mrs. Thangalimodzi on suicide. I really hope that you have been blessed by this program. You're with me, your host Adela right here on Hope Channel Malawi with your program Energ-Aid. Join me again next week, and remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you.